Now, officials from the Consumer Commission, together with the Department of Home Affairs and the City of Johannesburg's environmental health inspectors, started week-long inspections of Spaza shops in Soweto. That's where we are broadcasting from. And we obviously looking at what these inspections are doing. They aim to ascertain compliance with the Consumer Protection Act and other applicable laws and regulations and bylaws. And of course, you know that this is after the death of 6 children from alleged food poisoning after eating snacks bought from a local Spaza shop in Naledi, where Sakina is. Let's cross to her, because I know that we're going to get an investigation or an update on all of that and much more that's happening. Sakina, let me hand it over to you and your guests.
Well, thank you, Leanne, and perhaps a good place to pick it up on the inspections, as you rightly point out, because those are the questions that the community is demanding answers to. And of course, we are focusing on Naledi, given the tragedy that unfolded, 6 young children losing their lives. We spoke to the father of a 7-year-old Njabula Msimango who lost his life, giving us his sense of what has happened. And I spoke to him off camera as well, giving me a little more detail and talking about the disappointment that they feel as the families of being let down by the city of Johannesburg that made certain promises to the families in terms of psychosocial support and also financial support when it comes to the burial of their children, which did not materialize. Mr. Thabo Msimango told me about the support that was apparently going to be offered to the families, and unfortunately, when the city did not make good on that promise, it almost led to a stampede at the funeral because so many people turned up and that support was not forthcoming. And we did invite the MMC for social development and health here in the city of Johannesburg, Eni Makafula. She unfortunately cannot be with us. The city did, however, send us a representative to speak to us for this morning's broadcast, and that is Mr. Corrie Bezuidenhout, who is the Deputy Director of Environmental Health in the city of Johannesburg. Mr. Bezuidenhout, thanks so much for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning. Thank you. Pleased to be here.
So a lot of questions being asked, just in terms of basically how the city polices and makes sure that structures such as these informal trade centers, the Spaza shops, are actually policed. You know, what do you do? Because I heard in preparation for this morning's broadcast, I looked at some of the interviews that were conducted by the MMC for Social Development and Health, and she spoke about blitzes every Friday. Is that actually happening?
Yes, actually it's happening. Since last year, the first round of these unfortunate events happened. So since last year we have started with blitzes. So up to June last year, to June this year, our end of our financial year, we have done just over 6,000 blitzes at different places. After that, we started again going back to routine inspections. And the reason for that is that we had to focus on the rest of our work, obviously. We've got 9 municipal health functions to deal with, so informal trade is only one of them. So we have also again started with regular blitzes. Some areas, this one for example, we're doing it once in a week with a multidisciplinary stakeholder group.
So you say you've started again. When does that again relate to? Because this particular area, Naledi, given what had happened last year with 2 children losing their lives, when was the last time that inspectors actually came to this area before last week's incident?
So you must remember there's one environmental health practitioner. Olden days we used to call them health inspectors for an area. So you've got a health inspector for this area, environmental health practitioner. And the last time that we've been in the affected place was in August. So a routine basis means that if a place complies, then obviously we do it less at that place. If it doesn't comply, then we do it more regularly. So EH, environmental health practitioner, is then requested to do it on a 3-quarter basis or a quarterly basis, 3 times in a year. But it is like that if there's any other problems relating to this, then he will obviously do it more often.
I would imagine that this would have been highlighted as a problem area, given that children died here last year. So we've seen, again, 6 children died this time around. So when was the last time that the inspectors actually came here before this latest tragedy?
My report was that they have been here in August as a routine inspection.
And all the Spaza shops around Naledi were compliant?
I cannot say that because I have not been part of that inspection, but look, compliance, today you walk into a place, it's 100%, it's fine, there's no problem. Tomorrow you walk in a place and something happened and it's not compliant. And then obviously we take our statutory action that we're supposed to take.
Will you accept that you are understaffed and incapable of actually policing or making sure that you are able to enforce whatever laws and bylaws exist because you are understaffed?
So let me explain that we've got 33 environmental health practitioners for the entire Soweto area, which serves a population of 1.5, 1.6, 1.7 million people. So yes, we are understaffed, but I will not say we are incapable of doing our job, because these guys are really working. They are doing a lot of things. They focus on specific programs. They need to do sampling. They need to do other complaints, noise complaints. They need to investigate streams, rivers. So there's so many things that they need to do. But I will not say they are incapable, because we've got a good team.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting they are incapable. I'm suggesting they may just be overwhelmed with the amount of work. How many Spaza shops are there in Soweto?
The entire Soweto area, I'm not 100% sure, because I was going to talk about Naledi. Here we had a meeting with the minister last night, and he also asked the same question. We've got about 88 in the Naledi area. For the entire city of Johannesburg, I'm talking, we've got just over 4,000. Inspector-wise for the city, we've got just over 200 environmental health practitioners, and then obviously they've got their managers and the operations managers that is supposed to guide. And you know, we've got about 6 million people living in Johannesburg. And if I talk about Johannesburg, it's from Midrand up to Orange Farm on the one side, from the West Rand on the one side up to Ekurhuleni on the other side.
Just again, how many Spaza shops in Soweto?
Soweto, I don't know.
Because you say 88 here, so I've read up and it says the estimates put it at between 10 and 15,000 Spaza shops in Soweto. Would you be inclined to agree with that?
No, not 100%, because like I said, since last year we have developed a database for the entire city. So each region, we've got 7 regions, have got their own database. And the amount of Spaza shops then, according to what I get, is about 5,000 for the entire city. So the figure that you are giving me for the entire Soweto, I'm not convinced that that is the case.
So let's talk about the inspectors and what they do when they visit a Spaza shop like this one. What would be the steps that they have to go through, and what would they have to tick off on?
So when a normal inspection will basically be, you get into a place, you identify yourself, obviously, you go through the premises. So you look at hygiene. Is the place clean? Do they have the necessary facilities to what they are doing? You look at the structure itself, you look at the walls, you look at the roof. Then you ask a few questions. Are they doing pest control? What type of pest control are they doing? They also do sampling when we have a sampling run. And we test for chemical and bacteriological samples.
How often is that done?
We've got a program for the city of Johannesburg. So each region, and I've explained there's 7 regions, we've got a program, and each region is doing samples on a regular basis, like according to our program.
What is a regular basis? How often do you do that?
So you must also understand what I'm saying. A regular basis for me, I've got a program, it's been done once in a week in specific areas in Johannesburg. So Soweto is one of those that is doing that. But also understand that each and every Spaza shop is not being sampled. Each and every shop is not being sampled. So you take a a specific shop, you do your sampling there today and you submit it to the lab. So chemical samples are going to Pretoria. There we test for colorants, you test for preservatives, those are the things that we are testing for. It takes some time because all chemical samples take time. We also do then bacteriological samples. If they are preparing food, the Spaza shop is not supposed to prepare food. They are supposed to sell pre-packed foods and those type of groceries. So, but we also take some of those samples. Bacteriological samples is taken at places where they prepare food, basically. So you take the hot food, you submit it to the lab in Johannesburg. About 2 or 3 days later, you get the results.
What about snacks and stuff that children buy and consume?
So the snacks, that is the ones we're doing chemical samples on. The law prescribes what samples we are supposed to take, and we do that on our roster program.
Okay, so if it's done on your roster program, Mr. Bezuidenhout, that means you are able to give me information. I don't necessarily require what was done last week, but up until that time, you would be able to give me that information.
Okay, I cannot give results of all the samples that we have taken, obviously, and also don't know out of my head, but I can provide it to you at a later stage. But I must say that most of the samples that we take complies to the FCD Act, Food, Safe, Cosmetics and Disinfectant Act, but some of them do not comply, and then we obviously take action against it.
So what are the repercussions of that if it's not compliant? Do you close the shop? What do you do?
And we must also understand that it's not always the shop as such. Remember, these things are manufactured somewhere. So you rather go back to the manufacturer to say your food stuff didn't comply. You give them a time to rectify, and you go and do a resample to see that it's done. In Spaza shops, however, and informal trade, you get these big bags which they buy and they repack it, which should actually not happen. Those ones is a bit more difficult because you get into the shop, you ask the people, where did you buy it? Why are you repacking it? And sometimes the answer is just, we're buying it at Macro.
Yeah.
So, I'm saying Macro,
but when that happens, what are the repercussions? What should happen?
Look, one, go back to the factory and manufacturer, and you say to them, this is what is wrong, fix your product. If they don't fix it, there is legislation. You can actually prosecute people for that.
Have you prosecuted anybody?
We have not prosecuted recently for those type of things, because what I always say to people when I see results coming from the lab and it doesn't comply, please go back, let's get it right rather, and get the product compliant that's going out on the market.
Just a quick one before I move on. The city promised psychosocial and financial support to the families. Why did that not materialize?
Okay, for me that is not a question I can answer because I'm here for the environmental health part of this. But I suppose if they have made a promise, I will discuss it with the MMC when I go back into the office. It might still become forward. I hope so.
Well, I hope so. But thank you so much, Mr. Bezuidenhout. Of course, there's a lot that still needs to be answered to. And as you say, you can avail those test results to us. So I would like to take you up on that offer so that we can have a look in terms of just the tests that are conducted, have been conducted, and what the results showed. But thank you so much. And that was Mr. Corrie Bezuidenhout, Deputy Director of Environmental Health in the city of Johannesburg. Let me step over, and I'm joined now by Lieutenant General Mthombeni, who is the Provincial Commissioner for Police here in Gauteng. Thank you so much for your time, sir, and thanks for joining us. A lot of community safety. We see, the Gauteng crime wardens. We also see many police members here. This is not usual. The residents around here tell me they never see these people around here.
Good morning to you, and greetings to the viewers at home. Yes, of course, your remarks might be something which one can indicate, but we normally have these integrated operations, as I always say. When we have to work, more especially in the instances like this one, we have to make sure that we put together the whole government approach, and that process is the process which was approved by Cabinet in 2022. And of course, we know for the fact that this area, Naledi, that recently we had children who have been affected. It was 5, those who passed on. And on Saturday during the burial, and then we received a message from the hospital that 1 has passed on. We are, of course, last year had also children, those who were affected. It was 5 of them, of which 3 passed on. We're investigating 3 case dockets of inquest. One can just indicate that we are, of course, following the process in terms of forensic pathologist reports, of which last year, the 3 inquest dockets, we have since received 1 post-mortem, which confirms that the cause of the death is carbamate, which is baits used to kill insects. For the other 2 cases, we are still awaiting these forensic reports. And of course, is the 2 issues. The postmortem report is the toxicology report, which we are still waiting for. So I must just indicate that the Minister of Health yesterday called an urgent meeting in ensuring that the whole government approach has to be followed systematically, of which the South African Police Service was there, the Department of Health, of course, and also Environmental, Department of Agriculture, Forestry, Fisheries and Forestry was also there, so that we can drum and put it together. I must just indicate that even last year we had some operational activities within this area, but you know, as you were speaking to Mr. Bezuidenhout, the Deputy Director, that some of the aspects is the aspects which you have to deal with the Department of Environmental Health. But we can indicate or confirm of late that Friday we had an operation within this area where we arrested 12 people for illegal immigrants. Notices were issued by Environmental Health, and the 14th we were also on the ground, of which we arrested 6 notices were issued yesterday. 9 notices were issued by Environmental Health. So we'll keep on dealing with this issue. We also link this issue with the Provincial Joint Intelligence Structure, which I chair, of which government departments are within that space.
Commissioner Mthombeni, the scene behind us, this particular Spaza shop, we understand that the person operating the shop has been doing so for 12 years. We understand he is an Ethiopian national who's been renting the space. What more do you know about him, and do you know whether he's actually compliant with the laws of the country in terms of the setup of the shop and, of course, his own papers and permits to be in the country?
Well, in terms of the papers, one could confirm that we could not find anything, wrong, though he was operating here. As I indicated, that you have to take note that the aspects of issuing the notice, it's the work we do with our colleagues from Department of Environmental Health, of which they systematically follow the law. As you interviewed him, and he indicated that in terms of the statutory law, they issue those notices, and they follow through the notices, and ultimately where the action has to be taken, it has to be taken so.
But just to bottom line, this particular Spaza shop, the owner of this shop is here in the country legally, and this particular shop has been operating legally. Is that what you're saying?
Well, the issue of the Spaza shop is operating illegally, so is something which Department of Environmental Health can confirm that, but I can confirm that when we come here, we came with Department of Environmental Health. If they issued a notice, because you'll have to understand how this process, the process flow in terms of following that. You issue a notice to say you are not complying, and then you have to follow those notices, and there are specific dates which you have to issue those notices, and of which Department of Environmental Health, they have done so. So that process flow is followed for all the shops or all the Spaza shops, of which the department do make a follow-up, and we are working together with them in terms of the whole government approach.
Well, that is the Provincial Police Commissioner giving us his sense in terms of what's being done in the multi-sectoral approach in reaction to what happened here in Naledi. But of course, we continue this conversation, and we will, of course, be joined by community members, other stakeholders, as we continue to ask the questions, and also on behalf of the families try to find out why promises that have been made have not been met.